Hi. So I guess you're wondering why I have a mask on. I suppose I wonder the same thing. I wonder why we all walk around with our masks on like this. I've put this mask on today because we're talking about a very important topic called mental health. And I read an article the other day that was talking about some work that was done with some children who'd been battling with COVID and grief and all the things that have been going on in the world. And they gave them all a mask similar to what I'm wearing here. And they asked them to write on the outside of the mask, on this side that you can see, all the words and statements we want other people to think of us. And so these teenagers, and this has been done with other adults as well, filled in the mask and they put, I'm fine, I'm strong, there's no problem, I'm coping, it's all okay, I'm brave. And then they asked them all to take off the masks and to take some time writing on the back of the mask what was really going on for them, what they were really feeling, all the things that they were keeping secret, keeping private, keeping away from others, for lots of different reasons, for fear of upsetting other people, for, not wanting to be vulnerable, for all sorts of things. And then they asked all these children, these kids, these teenagers, to share what was written on the inside of the masks with each other. And universally, they all had the same words going on the inside. I'm sad, I'm scared, I'm lost, I don't know what the point is. I feel betrayed, I feel heartbroken, I feel scared, I'm worried, I don't know how to do this. And when I do work with leaders, executives, teams, every individual that comes to work with me, the process of healing is revealing the mask to ourselves. To stop pretending all this that is going on the outside is the only version of reality for us. And to just have a moment to express what's going on the inside. And that is how we start to shift the stigma of mental health. That is how we start to heal some of the challenges we have. It's not the absolute answer, but it's a starting point. So when we have a look at mental health, let's start by exploring some truths around it. Mental health is not the same as mental illness. In the same way as when I say I'm looking after my physical health, it's not because I've been diagnosed with some sort of physical illness. I may well be, and that's a different thing for us to deal with. And if we have a diagnosis of any kind of a challenge, physically, mentally, emotionally, that needs to be taken care of. But mental health is not looking for a diagnosis. It's not saying I have to be mentally ill. It's not waiting for a mental illness diagnosis for us to start taking care of it. Our mental health is as important as our physical health. Yeah. We don't excuse ourselves for exercising or for eating or for taking care of our physical needs so that we can remain vital and strong. Some of us even, don't take care of ourselves that well on our physical side. But we don't have the same level of shame, resistance, vulnerability when it comes to our physical well-being as we do when it comes to our mental well-being. We could certainly say to our colleagues, I'm hungry, I need to eat, instead of saying I'm overwhelmed and I don't know how to breathe. And the last thing that's useful to know around mental well-being is that it is not static. It's more of a continuum. At any given moment, the continuum between feeling fully alive and vibrant and resourceful and inspired and engaged can alter to feeling drained and depressed and overwhelmed and anxious and scared. And that mental well-being continuum is one that is fluid and changes depending on our circumstances. That's an important point because it means we have complete power to move it. We're not victims of our own mental well-being. There are things that we can do to take care of it. Our mental health is affected by our stress levels and by the mechanisms we use to release our stress, to take care of ourselves. Our mental well-being is impacted by trauma. And you remember the video from last month where we spoke about the corona coaster and the trauma that every single one of us is experiencing. That is impacting our mental well-being at the moment. And it's impacted by pressure. Pressure to perform, pressure to be perfect, pressure to have all the answers. That pressure that is a sort of external focus and also an internal focus. We can have stories of internal pressure. Can amplify the movement along this continuum of mental health. Starting to notice where you are on the continuum is an amazing point of self-awareness, of self-discovery. Insisting that I'm always well, I'm fine, there's no problem here, is putting the mask back on. Taking the mask off and having a look at what's going on gives us more of an accurate reflection of where we are in this journey. Mental health has so much stigma attached to it. It's becoming the new buzzword, and that in itself is frustrating. Because the thing that is needed is for us just to remove the stigma. And that is done by us breaking up with the conspiracy of silence. We co-author each other's mental health stories by being silent about ourselves and each other. We live in a world where we're so busy suppressing everything that is true about us, what is going on the inside, that we've forgotten how to connect and communicate with each other around true experiences that are going on. When we break up with the conspiracy of silence, it means that we don't feel awkward when somebody shares their emotions with us. We don't try and squash our own so that we don't make others feel uncomfortable. It's natural and normal, the same way as we say, I'm hungry, as I can start talking to you about how I'm feeling and what I'm battling with. So 4 ways that you can break up with the conspiracy of silence. Let's take off your own mask. Now, vulnerability is a really important experience. It is the entry point to authenticity. Vulnerability always leads to authenticity. The avoidance of vulnerability makes us distant and aloof. So take off your own mask first. Share. And so that's the second point. Talk to someone. Be that a professional someone, be that a someone like me, be that a someone who's your partner or your friend, or be that just someone who's a colleague or a client. But talk to someone who's willing to listen. And that brings us to the third point. Become a great listener. Please do not suppress other people's experiences with toxic positivity and all the other things we've spoken about. If someone wants to share with you, just become a willing listener. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to make anything different. You can just be the vessel that creates a space for someone to express themselves. And lastly, creating time for self-care. In the busyness of our days, we never pause enough to even notice what's going on behind the mask. Creating time for journaling or meditating or walking or connecting or playing or doing hobbies or exploring or doing whatever it is that brings you a space of reprieve in your day. If you would like to discover more about your current level of well-being, there is a link I'll send you and you can fill in a well-being assessment that gives you an aspect across the mental, emotional, spiritual and physical dimensions where you're at. And if you'd like to then follow that up by having a chat with me about what your results are showing you and how you can start to shift them, you're welcome to do that. But my encouragement is for you to share it with somebody in your team. Just talk to someone about what's coming up for you there. Here's to your brilliance and to our sanity. Let's speak to each other. Lots of love.